Welcome to the Interesting Football Podcast. I'm Laurie Knox and I'm joined by former Kent under-19 slow bowler Simon Day, who this week will regale us with 3 facts about Aston Villa and try to beat par in our 1-minute quiz. Simon Day, how are you and what are your personal memories of Aston Villa?
I'm excellent and I'm looking forward to this because I used to live literally in the shadow of Aston Villa's football ground, Villa Park.
Could you have thrown a stone from your house to the stadium?
I could have shouted and the players would have heard me on the pitch, as long as it was like quite a small crowd and they were being very quiet. But yeah, right. I was in the shadow of the ground. We used to get given a couple of traffic cones to put outside the house if we didn't want people parking in front of the house.
Nice.
But
because I imagine football fans are pretty aggressive when it comes to rules.
Well, we were students at the time, so none of us had a car, so it wasn't really relevant. But occasionally, if they were like playing a team we didn't like Man U or whatever, we'd whack a couple of cones out there just to sort of
I like it.
Make it a bit awkward. But my only ever trip to Villa Park was, and not a massively remembered football match, but Aston Villa versus Gillingham in the third round of the FA Youth Cup in 1999. Awesome. When I went along as, I assume, the only Gillingham supporter in the crowd on a Monday evening, wearing my Gillingham shirt and coat. I must look like a right weirdo, to be honest.
Any hooliganism at the match?
There weren't many people at the match, to be honest. I think like a few hundred. No, it all went off without. It would have been, the police would have been happy afterwards.
A few hundred seems like a pretty good attendance to me. No disrespect to Gillingham's youth team, but
I'm guessing they're probably more there for the Aston Villa youth team.
Fair enough.
But anyway, what about yourself? What's your
I have also only been to Villa Park once, although unlike you, I did not live in the shadow of the stadium, and that was a 2-2 draw. It sounds like about the same time. I think we're looking at actually a bit earlier, maybe 96, 97. I remember Steve Staunton scoring an absolute cracker, left footer from 30 yards, top corner. And I will say that that's probably the loudest I've heard away fans. Villa fans weren't that loud generally through the game, but after they scored and, for about 3 minutes chanting, that the whole tent on its feet, that's probably the loudest I've heard from home fans. So they've got that going for them.
Well, I think at one point, I don't know if it's still the case, the whole end was the biggest end in football in this country. Yeah, it was like, I don't know what the capacity is, but it was certainly well over 20,000 behind the goal. And it was the biggest at one point.
Okay.
I suppose it's a bit hard to sort of equate that now because most football grounds weirdly don't have ends, do they? It's just one continuous stand, isn't it?
This is true. And that's one thing I've been quite impressed with Liverpool. Even when they had plans to move to a new stadium, they had 4 individual stands. That was the plan. Okay, they scrapped that. But with Anfield, they have made sure that each stand has its own identity, which I like. I really don't like the bold design.
No, I agree with that. Football ground should have four stands with a floodlight in each corner. None of these lights on stand nonsense. Don't any of that. Anyway,
so you've got 3 facts lined up for Aston Villa this week. What is your first one?
My first fact is in 1981, Aston Villa won the First Division title using just 14 players.
Wow.
They had 7 ever presents, but they only used 14 players throughout the entire season.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I think back to, Wednesday in the early 90s. Okay, 14, obviously not, but yeah, you'd basically have a first 11, wouldn't you? And
well, yeah, I mean, the last example I can think of that was probably when Leicester won the league. And when Leicester won the league, they used more than 14 players, but most weeks you probably could have picked the Leicester team. There was a lot of, they were pretty much all regulars. There wasn't much chopping and changing. I mean, clearly the 3 factors that you've got to have working in your favour are form, injuries, and suspensions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And to have all 3 of those not affecting your team is ridiculously unusual.
So what happened back in the olden days? Did you just the players played with a broken leg or something? Come on, Jeff, you've got another leg. That'd be such a win.
Well, the thing is, it used to be a man's game.
Yes, indeed.
That's the difference, isn't it? Whereas now they go down as if they're shot, don't they?
But I do remember Neil Warnock saying, back in the day, and he's generally a pretty honest guy, Neil Warnock. He was saying, back in the day, players would, you got the flu, it doesn't matter, you come in, you want to play every second of every game. But nowadays, players got a slight niggle, and they're like, "Oh, boss, what do you think? Should I sit out this week?" And yeah. So I suppose that didn't happen clearly when Aston Villa won the league. There were no niggles that season.
You just brought up Neil Warnock, though, which was just reminded me of a recent Neil Warnock story I heard, which was when he was manager at a previous club. I can't remember which one. He used to, one of his ex-players said he used to take them bowling. And this is the most Neil Warnock thing ever. He'd have his own bowling shoes that he'd take along.
I don't know why that makes me laugh. It is a very Neil Warnock story, isn't it?
Yeah. And apparently he has a stamp for doing autographs, I've heard as well.
Is that right? That's efficient. If I was a young Neil Warnock fan, that would annoy me. I don't know if I'd want the stamp. I'd want it to be touched by his hands and his. I suppose it has. No, I'm not happy with that.
I used to. I mean, I can remember getting Ian Botham's autograph when I was a kid.
I was about to ask you about that. Do you remember any? So Ian Botham, any football? Because the only football off the top of my head I can remember is getting Steve McManaman's outside Hillsborough.
I got the Reverend Gavin Peacock's autograph at Gillingham when I was about 7. But Ian Botham qualifies as a footballer, surely.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point.
But Ian Botham's autograph was the stereotypical squiggle.
Oh yeah, right.
I could have been really disappointed. Like that could be. Why have I bothered getting Ian Botham's signature? Why didn't I just do a squiggle in my autograph book and tell everyone I got Ian Botham's signature?
That's kind of what my signature is like now, I think, because I used to practice in my rough book at the maths school when I inevitably became Sheffield Wednesday's right winger. And
rough? We did have a rough book, didn't we?
Yeah, we did have a rough book, yes.
What did we use the rough? I mean, this sounds like a silly question.
Well, I used it for practicing my signature for when I became a famous right winger for Sheffield Wednesday, but...
we meant to use it for like drafting, note-taking and...
I imagine so, yeah.
I just think giving a load of 12-year-olds a rough book is just asking for trouble, isn't it? It's just going to
Yeah.
It's going to be hangman, noughts and crosses, etc. Graffitiing. It's not going to be used for what it's meant to be used for, is it?
No, I don't. From memory, I don't think it was. But
rough book.
So there you go, Aston Villa, 14 players in one season, which is a hell of an achievement, especially when you consider nowadays. I mean, I think you could probably execute Manchester City's first 11. I mean, it doesn't really need to be an execution. I don't know why I went that far.
They could all just get injured, couldn't they?
Let's stick with the execution for now.
Yeah.
And make sure they're out for at least the rest of the season. And they would still qualify for the Champions League, wouldn't they?
Probably, yeah. Even a lot of clubs now, they even have like a brilliant reserve goalkeeper now. A lot of clubs, don't they?
Indeed, yeah.
Ridiculous.
I imagine if you took Aston Villa's 14 players away, they probably would have got relegated. They'd have had to put in the 16-year-olds.
Well, weirdly, the following season, Aston Villa won the European Cup. And in the final, their goalkeeper went off injured after 12 minutes and Nigel Spink had to come on in goal.
Oh, nice.
So he's like, which clearly, during the league campaign, that wouldn't have been an option, would it? They'd have had to put an outfield player in goal.
Oh,
but
those are the days.
It does seem remarkable in sort of when it was a man's game. There was, and like you could, fouling was kind of encouraged, wasn't it? Yeah, that no one picked up a bad injury or anything. But yeah, 14 players, and that was their first title for 71 years.
Damn. They've got quite a storied history, haven't they? I mean, they've got, in terms of trophies won, Villa. I remember it was always, when we were growing up, it was always Villa and Tottenham on 7, weren't they, for the FA Cup?
Yes.
I don't know if Villa have actually added to that, have they? Are they still on 7? And they've got a few league titles down the years as well, haven't they? So
they did the double.
Yeah,
they did the double.
European Cup.
Yeah, exactly. But they're one of these clubs. I know they did get relegated a couple of years ago. They're one of these clubs, a bit like Everton and Spurs, who were like pretty much perennially in the Premier League, but never actually threatened to win the Premier League. And I don't know. If I was a Villa fan, I probably would have been quite happy with the relegation a few years ago, just to sort of play a few different teams and
mix things up. Right, gatekeepers, as they're known in boxing, they're never going to win a world title, but you have to get through them to to get to the elite.
Yeah, if you win away at Villa, that's a good result.
Indeed.
Anyway.
Right, well, that was a good first fact. I like that one. And that now takes us on to today's quiz. You've got 10 possible correct answers you need to get in 1 minute. I'm going to set par at 6, okay?
I think I hit par last week. Didn't I bang on?
You were 1 below par last time.
Oh, okay. I was trying to.
But I'm confident. I'm confident with this one. Okay, so we're going to talk about, especially as I'm basically giving you one of the answers because this is the Aston Villa podcast. You have, Ron Atkinson, former Aston Villa legend.
Yeah. Played
for one club and managed 9. So for those of you who are bad at maths, that was 10 teams in total he was associated with. Who are those 10 teams? So 1 that he played for, 9 that he managed, 2 of those clubs on 2 occasions.
Okay.
Simon Day, you have 60 seconds to answer. Your time starts now.
Aston Villa.
Oh, there we go. 1.
I've nailed that, haven't I? Sheffield Wednesday.
2.
Manchester United.
3.
West Brom.
4.
I feel like I've got the easy one sorted there, haven't I?
You have.
West Brom is like the first club. I mean, before my time, but that's where he cut his teeth, isn't it?
It
and
is.
Man U was out for quite a while.
A couple of short rains towards the end. Remember going in the wrong dugout?
Oh, was that Forest?
Yes, 5.
Forest, he did. And then he did before that. So he went abroad. He went to Spain, but I can't remember who he managed in Spain.
He did.
Coventry,
there we go, 6.
That's not who he managed in Spain.
10 seconds, reel off a load of Spanish clubs. Go.
Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Real
Atletico Madrid, yes, 7.
Okay, there you go. Oh, 1 then.
3 seconds.
Arsenal.
Well done. We'll go with that. Okay, so well done. 7. You've done it. You missed the first 3 teams. Oxford is the team he played for. He actually
only played for Oxford.
He started his career at Villa, but never made an appearance for them. His first job as manager was at Kettering Town. And then he went on to Cambridge United.
That does vaguely ring a bell, actually. Yeah, that does vaguely ring a bell.
And then
I once saw Ron Atkinson walking his dog around Licky Hills golf course.
Nice. Was Ron Atkinson's dog wearing any jewellery?
I don't think so. But it was a really small sort of, not chihuahua. I'm rubbish with dogs. Sort of a bit bigger than a chihuahua and quite sort of a pretty, well presented looking dog. I don't think he was a rescue dog. Put it that way.
Right. Yes. Okay. Anyway, so well done, Simon Day. You're on par in the quizzes now because you last time you were below par by 1. This time above par by 1, so it's 1-1 at the moment. So I think I've got Brentford next.
I know nothing about Brentford, so that
you probably won't have to. I've got a good question lined up that's kind of Brentford
I look forward
related.
to that.
There we go. Let's have fact number 2 for today then.
Fact number 2 is, in 1895, Aston Villa won the FA Cup. Unfortunately, 5 months later, it was stolen from a shop window where it was on display, and they had to make a new FA Cup.
Ooh.
And as a caveat to this, in 1958, it was never found. In 1958, a man came forward claiming he was responsible at the time. He was like a career criminal, kleptomaniac. He'd been convicted about 42 times, and he said he stole it, had it melted down for fake coins, and then sold them in a pub to Aston Villa players without them knowing they were getting their hands on a bit of the FA Cup.
That sounds like a tall story. If ever
someone came out of the woodwork like 55 years after it happened to claim they're responsible for it.
So Villa lost the FA Cup. That's almost as careless as England with their World Cup.
With Pickles the dog.
Yeah, no Pickles around back in 18. When was it? 18.
That's a load of shite, though, isn't it? Pickles the dog did not find the World Cup.
Yeah, there's definitely
how
going on.
You think about that sort of practically. What happened there? He rummaged. Was he actually trying to find the World Cup? Did Did they give him like a sniff?
So, what's your theory on the Pickles story then?
The bloke, I'll buy that the FA Cup, sorry, the World Cup got found somewhere unlikely in a park or whatever, and the man who found it might have been walking his dog at the time.
Okay, so you just think it's a bit okay. Pickles was near the trophy. The man found the trophy. That's it. But you take umbrage at the suggestion that Pickles actually found it.
100%, 100% nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Although he came out the bushes with the trophy in his mouth. Do you reckon?
But surely Pickles was just kind of sniffing about. I know the guy comes over. What are you sniffing? He's sniffing the World Cup. Isn't that kind of the idea?
Stop licking the World Cup.
I thought you were going to suggest something untoward, as in like it's an unlikely story. Was it the fact that I don't know, the man who found it in inverted commas was involved in the disappearance or something like this?
No,
or is there nothing like
that.
that.
No, I think Pickles is innocent. I just think his sort of role has been overplayed over the years.
So, who do you think's had a greater impact on football? Do you think Pickles the dog, or was it Paul the octopus, the predicting octopus? What was its name?
It was Paul the octopus. It was the Germany World Cup, wasn't it? And unfortunately, ever since then, every time there's a tournament, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, South Africa, we've got this goat that can predict the game." Right. Even in the Euros this summer, there was something predicting all of England's matches.
And Paul the octopus, from what I remember, died pretty soon after the tournament. So it was a shame he never really got to live to see the fruits of his labour. I mean,
no, he didn't get to predict any further tournaments. He didn't get to live to see Germany actually win the World Cup.
In fact, I've just got it out on Wikipedia. Paul the octopus. I don't know why this makes me laugh so much. 26th of January 2008 to 26th of October 2010. I love it that has a birth and a death date for this octopus.
For an octopus.
So, yeah, 2 years and 9 months. That seems, I don't know, I'm no expert in octopodes, octopi, or whatever other plural you'd like to use. But I would have thought octopuses live a bit longer than that.
Yeah, well, maybe they do generally. Maybe the excitement got to him or something. I don't know.
The stress of it.
The stress of deciding, yeah. Back to the FA Cup being stolen. The one thing I found really weird about this story was, and I appreciate it was 1895, was the fact that the FA Cup was on display in a shop window.
I mean, you're asking for trouble there, aren't you?
Well, are you asking for trouble? And B, what a really weird thing to do.
It is, right. Oh, somebody stole my iPhone. Where did you put it? I left it in a park for an hour. I mean, like, come on, what do you expect? We just left an expensive piece of metal in a shop window. I
once saw the FA Cup in a pub. It was it was. I mean, I appreciate there's more than one FA Cup. Clearly, isn't there, that does the circuit? But me and my mate were in this pub in Birmingham, and the FA Cup. This sounds like start of a joke. And the FA Cup came in. Wow. Yeah, and it was some kind of evening. We weren't aware of this. Some kind of evening where you could have your photo taken with the FA Cup.
Pay £20 for it, probably, or
I don't know. I didn't bother doing it because I've got no real interest in that sort of thing. But yeah, there was like a big queue of people having their photo taken with the FA Cup.
Yeah, I remember as a child thinking, like, seeing like big football trophies like that or at events, and being like, no, I wouldn't want to touch it until I actually won the trophy myself. I was very convinced at the age of 11 that I was going to play for Sheffield Wednesday.
Still time.
Even to be fair, it's becoming more and more likely as the years go on, but not in the way I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. So are we saying that this chap who claims responsibility is talking out of his arse?
Yeah. I mean, we need give me some evidence. I'm in the Richard Dawkins school of give me some evidence, then we'll talk.
Well, you're going to love fact 3 then.
Okay.
On that basis, right?
Before fact 3, we're going on to our bizarre fan, and just this week, just like Manchester United when they first won the Premier League, we're going to have 2 people coming up and collecting the trophy. Because this week, our bizarre fans for Aston Villa are Prince William and David Cameron. Because I think that as a pair, I mean, I can't think of Aston Villa don't seem like a likely club to be the choice of the establishment. Because let's be honest, you can't get more the establishment than Prince William and David Cameron, can you? And it
No.
seems pretty bizarre. I mean, Prince William, I mean, was he born in London, I'm guessing? David Cameron, probably. Yes, it just seems like an odd choice of club for Prince William and David Cameron.
I know Prince William is a legit fan.
Yes.
He does regularly appear at Villa games, doesn't he, in the crowd and whatever.
And you see him cheering when they, like he's clearly into it. Yes,
he's aware. Yeah, he's aware of what's going on. David Cameron, though, I'm less aware of. I mean, is he a legit Villa fan?
Well, this is the thing. He's often, for quite a few years during his politics career, he would talk about what a big Aston Villa fan he was. But then he slipped up a couple of years ago when he was talking, and he accidentally said that he supported West Ham. And then afterwards, somebody pointed it out and he said, "Oh yeah, my mistake. I meant Aston Villa," which I find, how can you make that mistake?
Yeah.
I remember once about 10 years ago when talking to somebody I've just met, travelling around, talking about what a big Wednesday fan I was, and they asked me who the Wednesday manager was, and for some reason I just had a complete brain fog and couldn't remember who the manager was. And it was literally one of those things, you get that kind of brain fog for 30 seconds, the conversation ends and you immediately remember. And I just remember feeling absolutely humiliated that, I said, talk about what a big fan I was. I didn't know the manager's name. Like, that guy must have thought I was full of it. But I can't ever imagine talking about how much I support Huddersfield Town because they play in the same colour kit.
This has reminded me, this isn't strictly the same thing, but in terms of getting clubs mixed up, this reminds me of a time I went to a Norwich-Gillingham game at Carrow Road, and coming out of the ground, we saw this carload of Leyton Orient fans, right. And they were all wearing Leyton Orient shirts. The car had like Leyton Orient stickers, blah, 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 there. Well, that's weird, isn't it, what they're doing here? I had a look who Leyton Orient were playing that day. And it was the first round of the FA Cup. Leyton Orient were away to Northwich.
Oh, no.
Wow. Which is somewhere in Liverpool, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know for a fact, but all the evidence appears to suggest that these fans thought they were at Norwich.
That's unbelievable. I know a little bit different as it's deliberate, but there used to be a thing going on where MK Dons, when they were playing at home, away fans would go to AFC Wimbledon instead.
Yes, I've heard this before.
And be treated like kings, for all the Wimbledon fans coming there, buying them pints, and it was the thing to do.
Yes, I've heard this before. There's still a lot of animosity there, actually, isn't there? It's sort of there's still a hardcore of Wimbledon fans who are still very vocally against MK Dons, which I think is fair enough. They've not sort of.
I mean, they did kind of steal a football team. Yeah,
exactly. It's not like sort of they're sort of calling a player Judas and they get booed the first year and everyone forgets about it. This is like legit beef that's gone on for almost 20 years now.
But the stealing of Wimbledon was an interesting one because do you remember there was the idea to move them to Dublin?
Yes, there was.
And that, from a business perspective, I mean, could you imagine that? If it's a bit like, having an English club in the NFL. I think from a business perspective, it would be amazing. You'd basically have an international team in the Premier League, wouldn't you? Everybody in Ireland would support the Dublin Rovers or whatever their name is.
Yeah.
Just like NFL, if there's ever the London Bulldogs or whatever they call them, you've got a whole country. You've got a whole country backing this one team. So, from a business perspective, I can see how that would have gone well. From a football and a moral perspective, I can see how just stealing a club isn't so great.
No, I'm with AFC Wimbledon on this one, to be honest. I think they should be bitter till the end of time about it.
So there we go. Our bizarre fans, bizarre. I mean,
I'll be honest. That's good. It's not as good as I think. Arsenal set the bar pretty high on the bizarre fan, didn't they, with Osama bin Laden?
Yeah, I think we need to stop comparing to Arsenal because we're not going to beat Osama bin Laden.
Unless we discover like Saddam Hussein was a big Brighton and Hove Albion fan in his early years or something.
Indeed. So that takes us on to fact 3.
Right. Fact number 3 is Doug Ellis invented the overhead kick.
Okay.
Now, this cropped up a couple of years ago in an interview with Peter Crouch, where he said basically when he signed for Villa when he was about 22, Doug Ellis had like a one-to-one meeting with him, and all he talked about was the fact that he invented the overhead kick.
Wow.
I then did a bit of research on this and discovered that both Ron Atkinson and Andy Gray tell similar stories about him banging on. Basically, Ron Atkinson said whenever he had a meeting with Doug Ellis, he'd talk about how he invented the overhead kick. Peter Crouch said when he came out of his meeting with Doug Ellis, all the people who were sort of outside the room or whatever, they just went to him. Did he talk to you about inventing the overhead kick? Now, I feel like I broadly framed it. This is framed as 3 facts about Aston Villa. Now, Do we think Doug Ellis invented the overhead kick?
No, we don't. But I think the fact is that Doug Ellis thinks thought he invented the overhead kick. I think that's the fact there.
I mean, how would you go about it? What were you sort of playing around in the park trying to come up with a new move?
It's a hell of a claim as well, because it's one of those that when I don't know, like the kind of like childlike arguments that go on in the playground, like, it was my brother's mate who invented that hand signal. You just think like, I'm pretty sure somebody in the history of humanity, in the 150,000 years humans have been around, did that. I'm sure from before Doug Ellis existed, somebody got something and did something that vaguely looked like an overhead kick.
Yeah, Can you remember from our youth what an overhead kick used to be referred to as?
Scissors kick? No,
we used to call it a Pele.
Oh, okay, right.
Which I can only assume. I've never seen a clip in IRL of Pele scoring an overhead kick, so I can only assume it's from Escape to Victory.
What didn't he in the 1958 World Cup final? Didn't he do that one where he did the kind of keepy uppies and then overhead? I think that was an overhead. Did
he score doing that? No, I think he flicked it over someone's head and went around the other side. I don't think the finish was an overhead. I can only think of Escape to Victory.
Maybe we're going to have to investigate that Pele fact and do it for when when it's our Santos show. But,
yeah, that's probably a few years down the line. But in reality, we should have been calling it an Ellis, shouldn't we?
We should have indeed. On the subject of weird's probably a bit harsh for a word, but chair people with who are weird. Yeah, I'm going to go back there. My brother's podcast, his football podcast. What's it called? Football Legends. His friend Martin Gritton, who's kind of like a lower league journeyman, he talks about when he played for Torquay United, about how the guy down at Torquay. Do you remember the owner of Torquay? Was it Bateson?
Oh, yeah, Bates. But yeah, I do remember that.
He was a real.
That was when they were awful, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, and he was a real eccentric. Like he'd invite the players round to his mansion, swimming pool after they won a game, and there'd be like parrots flying around the living room and things like. And he said that one thing that he always had is that he had this puppet that he would randomly get out during, like, oh, what do you think about that? And start talking to them via this hand puppet. And what I love is what he said, do you like get them out during contract negotiations? He's like, oh, we don't want to pay him that, do we? But
I think at that point, if I was the player, I might be sort of looking towards my agent a bit, saying, do we want to be joining? Do we want any of this?
Although that reminds me, another thing Martin Gritton once said to me was that he, what was it? Yeah, he talked about his agent when he went to sign for whoever it was. And just before they got in there, the agent said, yeah, okay, try to butter up the chairman here, because let's be honest, you're better off the pitch than you are on it. He said, this is the man that I pay to talk me up as a footballer.
Yeah, I remember he was like a decent low league striker, wasn't he, I think?
Yeah, I remember I saw him play once against Wednesday. He was really, really good, actually.
Yeah, I remember him being a decent low league striker. Anyway, but he didn't invent the overhead kick like Doug Ellis did.
They did not indeed. Right. So how do you think we compare then Aston Villa versus Arsenal? So Arsenal obviously have the lineal title as the most interesting club. How do you think Aston Villa compare?
I think Aston Villa are more interesting, even taking into account Osama bin Laden.
Right, yeah. I mean, so Doug Ellis, what did we have before that? What was fact number 2?
It was the FA Cup being stolen and melted down and sold to Aston Villa players.
Right, well, yeah, they've had an FA Cup stolen. That's definitely true.
They won the league with 14 players.
14 players, yeah, that's a good one. You're saying Villa are more interesting than Arsenal. I think it's I still can't get Osama bin Laden out of my head.
Yeah, it's a common problem.
Arsenal, what was it? They had some good years. They were
they're saying about Herbert
trailblazers
Chapman.
in broadcasting.
Arsenal did have trailblazers in broadcasting, and Arsene Wenger and Thierry Henry met at Huey Lewis in the News.
Oh, that's amazing! Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say I'm sorry, but I'm going to give this one to Arsenal. So
Arsenal
Villa,
still in the lead.
Arsenal still have the lineal title.
2 weeks.
But on to Brentford next week, and maybe can they knock Arsenal off the perch?
Possibly
not, but we'll find out next week. So Simon Day, thank you very much, and everybody else, thank you very much for listening.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
We will see you next week with 3 amazing facts about Brentford. Bye bye.
Bye bye.